Hey everybody, and welcome to the next Monday Masterclass. We are today going to be talking all about designing from joy with Laurence McCahill from the Happy Startup School. So if you are joining us for the first time, welcome in. My name is Simon Batchelor. I'm a marketing mentor and co-founder of Better, Bolder, Braver. It's a community for coaches who are working on their marketing and want training and support all along that exciting journey. I'm also joined today by the other co-founder of Better, Bolder, Braver, Frances. Do you want to say hello, Frances?
Yes, I do. Thank you. My name is Frances Wishes, and I am the other co-founder of Better, Bolder, Braver, which is one community amongst many amazing ones, and we're thrilled to have one of our favourite people here, one of our mentors, someone that we followed, who's the co-founder of the Happy Startup School, Simon has said. Simon and I, we think met thanks to Happy Startup School, but we were also kind of stalking each other. So we're not quite sure how it all came about that we started Better, Bolder, Braver, but we are very happy to credit largely Laurence and also Carlos with everything that has happened to us in the last year and a half. And we're thrilled, as I say, and sort of slightly, I'm feeling a little anxious to have Laurence here because so much of what Laurence is all about has influenced our work, and I'm extremely keen to kind of air as much of the value that I feel Laurence brings as is possible in an hour. So I'm going to ask you, Laurence, to tell us who you are and why you're here and how it's joyful for you.
Well, an intro. Don't think I can follow that. Just to say, isn't it Tuesday, or am I going mad? Is it a Monday masterclass?
Yeah, so it's our marketing masterclass, and we often call it our Monday masterclass by mistake. Don't worry, Simon. Sometimes
Did I call it Monday today?
Don't worry about it.
Struggle at the best of times, so.
Oh wow!
It used to be our Monday masterclass, and now it's our marketing masterclass because it's Tuesday. And well done for picking up on that.
Yeah,
you're on the ball.
Don't ask me what month it is or anything else, but yeah,
no,
definitely knows Tuesday.
Exactly. Well, happy Monday to you, Laurence.
Thank you, Simon and Frances. I'm honoured to be here. I will take all the credit for this. You guys meeting each other, as long as it goes well. When it goes badly, it's nothing to do with us. I'm Laurence. I'm one of the co-founders of the Happy Startup School. There's lots of familiar faces in the chat, so lots of happy startup people here, and I'm sure a few who aren't too. Me and Carlos set up the Happy Startup School almost a decade ago. I think it was late 2012. So almost our 10-year anniversary. But before that, I was, I did various things, but as kind of a failed economist turned web designer. And then myself and Carlos set up a web design studio back in 2004, which we closed in 2015. And that really was, I guess, our apprenticeship in business, but also our evolution in terms of the work we do today, really understanding what it takes to bring ideas into the world, and not just any old ideas, but ideas that hopefully make the world a better place, not just for those you're creating them for, but also for yourself. So that's kind of my interest in this topic, really, is I love conversations like this and love what you guys are doing with the Better, Bolder, Braver community. I've always got that wrong in the past. I think I got it right then. BBB. Yeah, there we go. Like you, we just love giving people tools and confidence and spaces like this, connection to do the things they want to do. So happy to be here.
Thanks. You've just made me have a thought, actually, which is if you say Better, Bolder, Braver many, many times, it does go in, and it's like meditation. You've got to, get it wrong a few times, and then a bit like Monday Masterclass as well. Yeah. If you say Monday Masterclass enough times and then realise you've done it, then it becomes so much clearer when you keep going with it, and then you really think, why is it Better, Bolder, Braver? And so that's the whole point of naming it as such. So I think what I'd really like to do is just sort of encourage you, Laurence, to reshare your amazing post of yesterday, which was not invited by us. We did not ask you to do homework and come as well prepared as you have. Can you talk to us about, just for listeners who might not have seen it, what it was that, you know, prompted you to sort of write that list and maybe talk us through it?
Yeah. Well, I think one thing is, you know, the topic of this conversation, I think you came up with, and that got me thinking about this topic really in terms of what does it mean to design from joy. And actually I misread it at first and I saw design for joy, which I think is probably the designer in me, in that I think a lot of designers are always thinking about the people they're creating something for, because that's the way we've been trained and taught, and that's the work we do. Is we get a brief, we think about the project, what it is we're trying to do for a certain person or group of people, and then, you know, if we're worth anything, we'll hopefully try and make that experience a really useful one, or even a joyful one. So there's different layers of experience that we can create when we're creating for other people. I think my experience of being a designer is, I think a lot of designers go on this journey of, you know, loving creating things, loving designing things for other people, and over time, sometimes that sort of mojo, that joy, that zest for the work we do can sometimes diminish, because often we get caught in projects and sometimes in companies or even agencies where maybe we're just not feeling the joy in the client that we're working for, or the team we're part of, or maybe the product, we don't believe in it. And so slowly I found, certainly for me, when I was doing client work over a decade or so, that joy certainly seemed to diminish a little bit in terms of, why am I doing this? Is there a real kind of clear reason to this for the people we're creating for? Is it actually going to help them, or is it just going to help the company that they're selling you know, this thing to? But also, how does it help me? Like, do I really believe in this? Is it something that I want to spend my time doing? And so that's why I think that subtle switch from designing to designing from is important, because I found that when you create things from a place of your own joy, your own excitement, your own interest, then I just think that comes across in the way you communicate about it and the way you actually create things. And it feels easier to then do all the things you guys talk about, market yourself, you know, find your voice, sell. I think I found, you know, all of those things become easier and actually can be joyful themselves if you really believe in the thing you're trying to create, and also understanding where that's coming from. And for me, that's really about understanding your needs, really. And we talk about this on the program that we run, and you've been part of it. And that's really where that post came from yesterday, was this idea of, what does designing from joy mean for me? And for me, it's really a source of creativity is one. So that was the first thing that came to mind when I thought about this topic, was how does any idea, any project I work on satisfy my need for creativity? Because if I don't feel like it is satisfying that, then I won't have the energy to do it well. And I've found in the past that that's something you can summon when you have to, but over time it's almost like a diminishing pool of energy. And, you know, having done sort of design work for 20 odd years, I found, you know, I know when my energy's up and when my energy's down, and I've found that I've just got less and less interest in doing things that don't excite me anymore. It's as simple as that. And so if I've got limited time left and limited sort of energy left, then why not use that on things that get me excited? And again, I feel creative in that space. So that's one thing. I think another thing was connection. So seeing design as a source of connection to other people. So even if I was to create something on my own, seeing it as a way to connect with other people, even if I don't actually meet them. And that's something that I was missing in the past, was maybe that feeling of connection to the end user of an app we were designing or a website we were creating. We didn't really get that feeling of connection. We got connection to the client, and that was, you know, great. They were happy, but I certainly felt like a bit of hollowness sometimes with those projects, was even though we tried to get in front of people and have that real clear connection to the people we're designing for, often there was just a big bridge, you know, between them that we never got across. And that was just a source of frustration over time, because you get paid for the work, the client was happy, but you didn't really feel like the work you were doing was having much impact, because you couldn't see it. Even if it was true, you didn't really see that impact. So that's something that I've tried to bring more to the forefront of our work these days, is to really feel that impact and see it. and see it on a more intimate level than just numbers on a spreadsheet or, stats on a web analytics page. Feeling that from people's faces or words or stories, which is way more important for me. So those are the two main ones, and there's some other stuff there we could probably dig into if you want to. But yeah, that's the two that came to mind when I thought of this topic.
Do you want to say something?
I was just say, I think it's really interesting, that kind of disconnection, because a lot of what we talk about with marketing is based around kind of like marketing should be fun to do, because if it's not fun, then ultimately it's probably not going to work. I mean, if you're like a marketing agency or you're a big brand or whatever, then it's fine. It doesn't have to be fun. It just has to work. And as you say, you can be disconnected from it in certain circumstances and it still work. But when it's your own business, your own thing, your own service, and like when you're going to end up being in a in a relationship through connection with the person you're working with, especially with a coach, for example, then really the process of putting yourself out there and making that connection should be enjoyable, or at least rewarding in that initial instance. So I think doing marketing from a place of joy there really resonates with me, because that is what we're all about. We're not just about, go and write 50 Facebook posts that no one's ever going to read and then count the likes on a screen and woohoo. It's like nobody cares about crap marketing. And the reason is because the person who made it felt crap making it and is just doing it because they've been told to make it. And it's like Instagram has enough posts. There's not a drought of content. So it's like, if you're going to make some content, you may as well have fun making it and mean that the person reading it feels a bit of joy and connection and relationship with you. So I've sort of had quite a bit of shared experience, I think, in terms of agency, running a development team, developing apps, running that kind of stuff. We've been on sort of similar journeys there. So I can definitely sort of feel the disconnection there between that end client and some of the frustrations that come with, like, we think this is really good and the client's like, yeah, we're not sure our clients are going to like it. It's like that tension. So yeah, I can definitely feel that from a design point of view. Francis, what were your thoughts on what Laurence shared?
Well, I'm listening to what you're saying, and my experience is B2B as much as it is B2C, more B2B, I would say, to some degree. And I've been in-house. There's also the disconnect, I suppose, in B2B so business to business as opposed to business to customer marketing. And I'm thinking about disconnect in what we're talking about, and I have to say something that I've just noticed, that our eyes are all the same colour as the jumpers or tops that we're wearing.
Wow.
And yeah, so that's really cute, isn't it? And there's something of like a childish, sweet, like, illustration of a book going on here, because I don't know what that's all about, but the way that sometimes we notice things. And what I'm trying to get to here is observation and sort of awareness, self-awareness. Because what I wanted to ask you earlier, Laurence, is, sorry about the clanging noise in the background. How do you know when there's joy going on for you? How self-aware do you think you've become of joy existing? Because it's a bit like the needs thing, and I sometimes do struggle with, all you need to do is work out what you need, and it's like that's the thing. It's like, I find that really difficult. So equally, designing from joy, designing for joy, it's like, well, how do you know what is the joy? Like, how long has it taken you to see joy? Are you clear that it's joy when it happens? Are you clear to call it out if the joy is not there? So I'm really interested in the self-awareness bit of joy for you. How quickly do you see it?
I think it probably is something that, I don't know, you can almost link it to intuition, I suppose, in terms of something that I've got better at with age, certainly more comfortable with. And I guess it's probably more of a feeling, really, feeling in my body rather than necessarily anything I could put a logical response to. So it could be a feeling of excitement. Like, for example, if it was, even this morning, like getting a message from someone I know really well who's thinking of coming to one of our retreats, that feeling of oh, like the thought of spending time with him for a week again was just really exciting. And so I could feel that. I was like, yeah, that's brilliant. And so it's that kind of really visceral thing, I think, of it could be, typically it could be a collaboration or a person or a group that makes me excited. The thought of bringing people together, for example. So if it was an event, so we had another idea to do an event, I could start to see how that could work. So it could be like I don't know, say it was a trip to the Alps, or I don't know, some new place that we've not been to. So like Costa Rica or somewhere where we wanted to go. And it's like the thought of planning that, the thought of who could come, the thought of what experiences we would have, it starts to get me excited. It's like a feeling of adventure. So that's more of if it was a trip or an event. But equally, it could be something like, I don't know, like we've been talking about creating some guides like you guys have, some tools that isn't necessarily going on an adventure on the mountain, but the thought of sitting on my own and like crafting it, and that whole design process is exciting as well. So spending time on my own is also something I love doing, but also with a view to, and this will go and help another person in some way. So it's not necessarily just a solo gig. It's something that, I know I'm creating something exciting here that could potentially give someone else some use or some joy in the future. Don't worry, Carlos, I'm not planning us to fly around the world somewhere just yet.
So there's like three levels of joy, right? The first level is your joy. Second is the joy of the process. When you talk about designing something, it's like the joy that you get from building. And then the third is the joy that can be received, and being aware of the potential joy and talking to that joy and how it makes you feel. So maybe there's a fourth level, which is like, to what degree do you feel joy in an ability to gift to somebody the idea of a joyful outcome. So I'm thinking about Simon and my journey of consciousness, which takes people from completely unaware to like super excited, basically, is kind of the simplest way of describing it. You go from, like, it's like an energy that you have within you that you have managed to become so aware of and be able to process and call out and name and use so quickly that you can then channel it into your production, and then you are able to gift it to someone else, but also you can communicate how you're going to be gifting it, which in itself is a gift. And like, you've been on a journey, you talk about the second mountain. Is it something that you feel people can learn? I mean, we're in the, our course, the Coach's Marketing Journey, is designed from a place of joy. And we had to do some degree of selling before we knew it was worth building. And we knew that we didn't have to build it because before we shipped it, thanks to you. So the process of designing it has been really joyful. But it's about trying to get people from unaware to like super aware, very excited about the gifts that they can give, and therefore to pivot from a place of shame and sort of apologetic, quiet marketing, or a feeling of not being confident about how they want to do marketing, to can't wait to do the marketing because I understand it's a gift for someone else. But do you think you can learn these things, or do you think you have to just have gone on some sort of journey and unconsciously it needs to evolve, and then suddenly there's this second mountain in front of you?
There's a lot there. I mean, I think you can definitely learn. There is a process of, for example, if you're creating an experience for someone, you can learn how to do that. I mean, you can learn how to do experience design. So there are sort of tools and frameworks and things that allow you to create for joy, let's say, or certainly to create experiences and products that aren't just functional. You're going beyond the functional to surprise and delight people. So you can actually, for example, if you went to a hotel room and there was just a bed and nothing else, it would be pretty functional. You'd sleep, but there wouldn't be much else. Whereas if there was flowers there, if there was like some music playing, if there was some chocolates and wine, whatever, these are things that start to make the experience much more rich and joyful for people to experience. And there might be things that little touches that you didn't expect. So there could be a handwritten card, and so those things might be the things that then create ripple effects beyond the experience, because you'll tell someone about that, and that will create joy beyond your experience. It will actually go beyond just that designer to user to user to friends, to family, to so and so. So there's loads of great examples of experiences we have, and it's often those small tiny things that we remember that didn't actually cost very much, but were just a sort of human touch that added something to it. And so that part of the process, I think you can learn. I think the more inside out approach to it, in terms of like, what am I, like you said, what are my needs, what am I getting from this project, business, whatever we're trying to do, what do I want to say, how do I want to say it, what's my voice, who am I, all these things are just our deepest beliefs and values and ideals, aren't they? And so that's I think the journey for people is not necessarily like, can I create things that are great and useful for others? It's like, what should I create, and how should I create it? And it's like the work we do with people is, it's not a matter of not knowing what to do. It's just not knowing what the right thing to do is, and almost wanting someone to tell you, do this, because even though we don't have a boss anymore, it doesn't mean we don't need or want someone to tell us what to do. So there's this kind of tension, it feels like, between, when we have creators or entrepreneurs who want to do what they want to do, but then struggle with so much freedom that they actually don't know what the right thing to do is.
I've just remembered that it was actually me who called this Designing from Joy, and I feel like I'm grilling you about joy as if it's something that you have decided is what we need to talk about today.
Chief Joy Officer.
But there is something of a sort of an urgency or like a lesson or an instruction, or it's a headline that I feel in what you write and in the way that you make the impression that I get from you is that you're making decisions. It reminds me of our friend Charlie's clarity work, and this idea of like, have you committed to the joy? And I feel with you that you're quite clear on like, is this going to bring me joy? And you're very good at making decisions about like, no, this is not joyous. I don't find this joyous, and this is the journey that you've been on. But it's also what you're trying to impart on others, and it's because it's the oxygen mask. It's like, if this is not joyous, if this is not coming from joy, it's going to screw you up in the end, kind of thing. Is that, and
having
right?
that I guess inner belief, really, or confidence to actually make that decision, or just make a decision. I think, sometimes we're never going to get every decision right, but at least just making a decision is courage in itself, isn't it? Even if you're wrong, you're less scared of making mistakes. So for me, even just that is something you learn. It's like, as an entrepreneur or coach or any creative, you're going to have to make lots of decisions every day. So the more comfortable you get with just, making those, the more comfortable you'll get about the bigger things. And so, and also I think the more confident you'll get in why you're making the decisions, not just for others, but for yourself. And I often think people, in absence of making a decision or having, worrying about choice, they end up just doing what other people want them to do, and so they end up saying yes to someone else's vision or idea because they don't really know what theirs is, and that often could be a source of stress and anxiety for people, I think, because you end up on the path of following other people's wishes for you, which isn't always good for you.
And in terms of it not just being about other people's wishes for you, do you kind of check in with what might have been previous Laurences' wishes for you and what are actually present Laurences' wishes for you? Like, how good are you at actually asking?
Just a bit where I talk about myself in third person.
Yeah, past, previous, future. And but it's like, well, are these things still joyous for you? Like, how good are you at practicing what you preach? Frankly, you're excellent at telling us how to ask ourselves the right questions and how to design a manifesto and to ask ourselves what is our zone of genius. Are you good at doing that for yourself?
What do you want me to say? No, I'm terrible.
I don't want you to say it. I want you to be honest.
I think we're all guilty of, the things that we help others with are often things we struggle with ourselves. So yeah, if I were to look at some of, I don't know, our marketing or our website, or it probably goes against a lot of the things that we teach other people. But that said, I think in terms of me personally, in terms of like what's in, what's out, what excites me, what doesn't, what I want to work on, what I don't, I don't actually think, I have got better at it, but I made some big calls in my early career that seemed a bit counterintuitive and a bit crazy, but I just knew then that if something's not right, I could feel it, and I just knew in my body that it wasn't right, and I knew that there was no option other than getting out, because that was going to make me ill or depressed or, on a path of misery over the long period of time. So I think I've always had a quite good feeling of, if something's not right, I'll change it, and I'm not afraid to change it. And I'd rather be sort of wrong than, not decide, if that makes sense.
I'm sorry, Simon, I'm doing the thing I do where I dilate talk. But I just want to say one more thing before I forget, which is that, I think what I posted recently in Happy Startup School in welcoming a new member, that for me, entrepreneurialism is something I had never considered and just entirely happened accidentally. And B, has not only become the way in which I approach my work, but also I think my life more widely. And, I'm thinking about, to what degree do you sort of design from joy and for joy in your wider life? And sort of how you help us all to kind of think about how it must be a comprehensive effort if it's to mean anything. And, we talk to our coach members of our community about sustainability, and sort of we talk about something called what we call the work-work balance and the work-life balance. And what we're trying to get people to surface is sort of what's the sort of combination of everything that they have to do, and why does it work, and how can they talk about it proudly, and how does it become the message about who they really like. How is the combination the mirror of who somebody really is? And I'm interested just to invite you to talk a bit about how the combination of the various bits of your life have come to kind of mean joy for you. Is it just an approach to work, or are you now finding yourself practicing it all over the place?
I'm miserable at home, but I'm really nice at work. Well, I think that's the work we do, which I think is in some ways not normal, is a little bit unique in terms of the Happy Startup School, is this alignment really between our personal lives and our business or work lives, and not to see, we're not a business school or accelerator, and we're not a sort of well-being community who run retreats. We are this overlap between the two, this sort of merry dance between work and the rest of our lives. So for me, in some ways, I've learned so much by doing the work we do, number one, from either the people we've met or the experiences we've had, in terms of what things make me feel good and which things help me be most creative, useful, productive. And that's through years of experience and being around others who've inspired us to challenge some of our thinking. And so, how I live each day is almost how I want to live my life, so I try and model that in terms of, I almost put my well-being and my space time, let's call it me time, whatever you want to call it, as the most important thing every day, rather than like something that fits in around my life. I'll always take an hour for a walk with the dog, or try and have lots of time between calls. I'll try not to have many calls. I hate the idea of a full schedule every day with loads of calls. That's like my worst nightmare. So I know what makes me tick in terms of what gets the best out of me, and that's from experience of going too far the other way, whether that's just having packed schedules or too much of one type of activity which just drains me. And again, that's all, I think, part of this process really, is understanding, like, when am I in flow most often, and how can I achieve that most often? And working harder doesn't do it for me. And so, if I don't put those more personal things in my sort of diary, or even in my head for the day, then I'll fill it with more work stuff, and it won't necessarily be work stuff that actually has any value. It will just be work stuff for work stuff's sake, which we're all great at filling time if we have it and nothing else to do. So my goal is not to work more, but actually just to be more effective with the time I do work.
Speaking of effective with the time, not least in terms of the time we have today, but also you and Simon, I credit Simon largely with the design of the course that we offer our community members. And I think you both share, so I'm going to shut up so that you can discuss it, this idea of shipping before you've finished. Shipping before you're ready, which, is something that I know.
Shipping before you started.
Shipping before you start, right. So this is where I'm going to shut up, because I think it's something that you talk about, Laurence, quite a bit. Can you, with Simon, maybe share with our listeners the idea of why it's important to be able to do that, both from a marketing and a design point of view, but also from an emotional point of view in terms of like why the process of not having something ready allows for there to be joy as you go along.
Well, I think there's something about getting out of your comfort zone, isn't there? I think as humans, I think we like to have all our ducks in a row. You know, we like to feel like we're not going to get judged or criticized. And so in some ways it makes perfect sense to always have everything done to the best of our abilities, that when it's ready, we can then go, look, here's the thing I've made. Isn't it great? Isn't it beautiful? Isn't it useful? Please use it, buy it, engage with it. Don't give me feedback because I've made it and I spent a year making it. So please go gentle with me in terms of like criticizing it. Just nice things, please. Tell me nice things about it. And then if it doesn't work and no one buys it, then I'll be upset, but I won't know why, because no one's going to tell me, because I think it looks beautiful, and they're not going to criticize this beautiful thing that I've told them I've spent a year on. So I think that's one thing I've learned working with a lot of startups and entrepreneurs, and obviously doing our own work around this area, is in some ways, the more scrappy, the more unfinished something is, it can be terrifying to put it out to the world, but also from a customer point of view, it's something that they can engage with, feedback on in a more honest way, and actually, hopefully, in a more collaborative way, come to a better solution for everyone. So that's great in theory, the idea of, put it out there, get feedback, iterate, improve. Lots of people know that. Very few people actually do it. So one way I've found around that is to not necessarily just go out and release a really half-assed product that no one wants to buy, and then if it doesn't work, you're not quite sure why. Is really to think about it more than anything, is selling a vision for what you're trying to do. So have a really sort of beautiful or well-worded or nicely kind of designed view of that vision. So whether it's a manifesto like we talk about on the Vision 2020 program, or even just a really heartfelt Medium or LinkedIn post or Instagram post, whatever way you want to do to share that vision, put it out there, and maybe you get people who pre-order your book or course or whatever it is you're trying to do. But what you've done is you've kind of tried to sell a vision of the future that you can both buy into. And that, I think, is a leap of faith that a lot of people really struggle with, because they feel like an imposter to some degree. And I know it can be scary, the thought of almost either pre-selling or trying to convince yourself that this future state exists. But I've found the process of doing it for other people actually almost helps you to get clearer on it yourself. And therefore, you're almost like manifesting it by kind of going through that whole process of talking about it. I don't know what you think, Simon, but that's my view on it anyway.
Yeah, I think a lot of that rings true. I think there's an over concentration, especially in entrepreneur world, of this kind of like, you have to know exactly what it is, and you have to have a sort of fully formed idea to take to a pitch to get people to give you money to build it. And a lot of businesses that I speak to, especially on an agency side, they're like, oh, I'm going to build this thing and I've got this investment in it and blah, blah, blah. And I'm always like, yeah, but how many people are ready to buy it? And they're like, oh no, I haven't tried to get anybody to buy it yet. I've got like 100 grand coming in. We're going to build this thing and then we're going to sell it. And I'm always thinking like, that's just madness. Essentially, one of the sort of bits of advice I got a couple of years ago doing some work with Daniel Priestley is he's got this phrase called ABS, and he just says it when people are talking. He's like, ABS, and what it means is you're doing anything but selling. And it's what entrepreneurs are amazing at. They'll do anything but selling. I'm building a course. I'm writing a to-do list. I'm doing my emails. I'm on the phone. I'm having a meeting. I'm going for, and he's like, yeah, but have you sold it? No. Then you're doing ABS. You're doing anything but selling. And it's like, you've just got to stop doing it. And I found for a long time, I was using that as my kind of motivator to get stuff done, because I'm like, okay, what have I got to do today? Am I doing anything but selling? What's going to help me get to the end? Now, if you build an entire course or you build an entire program, as you very rightly said, Laurence, is that thing of like, okay, I've built this 20-week program. It's amazing. I've spent the last 3 months on it. Please give me feedback, but be nice about it, because I've just spent, like, no one's going to go, do you know what? This doesn't make sense. This drops off in the middle. I can't do this. What is this all about? It just feels empty, and you won't get honest feedback. Whereas if you call someone up and say, hey, Laurence, in 3 weeks' time, I'm starting this program. It's like 20 sessions. It's going to be live with me. It's going to be a bit scrappy because I'm just going to be running them live, see what happens. I really think you'd get a lot out of it. Do you want to give it a go? If you say, yeah, sure, I'll give you a bit of money for that. I'm willing to be one of the first to try it out. Then you just do it live, have some fun doing it with a small closed group, and you can read the room. Like me and Francis are currently delivering a program with the Association for Coaching. And we set an exercise and you watch a room full of people on Zoom all go scribbling down notes. And you can tell when they're engaged because people are like, oh, and then scribbling down notes. If you just make a video, you don't get to see that. And then other points, I think, yeah, people are going to love this bit. And then they're all just staring at the camera. Wait, what's next? You're like, oh, okay, that didn't land. Scratch that. And then you get the Q&A at the end, so people can be like, when you said this bit, I didn't understand that. Can you go over it again? So if you do it live, then you go back and create the thing based on that. Because a lot of people say, well, I can't do it live because I can't scale it. It's like, well, deal with the scaling problem once you've sold it once. The number of people I get, they're like, okay, but I need to automate all this stuff because, I'm going to get all these customers. I'm like, you solve that problem when you've got one customer. And then when you've got 10 customers, don't solve the what am I going to do with 1,000 customers problem before you've got any
it's a nice problem
customers.
to have.
Well, exactly. It's like get some of these problems. And that is that ABS thing of just, oh, I can't do this because insert automation issue here. So some of those details. But I don't know what your thoughts on that are, Laurence. How do you think that sounds?
Well, there's a line, going back to your point about the scale thing, a line that I can't remember what some startup mentor said it years and years ago that stuck with me was do things that don't scale at the beginning. And it's something I tell people a lot because, again, people fall into that trap of I'm trying to build a scalable product or web app or whatever. And this won't work if I try and do this for 1,000 people. But it's like, you've only got one customer. So don't. So I think it's a good line. But with the selling thing, I think it's, I'm guilty of this too. It's like you have all these difficult things on your to-do list and then you try and do all the easy things because you feel better, but then you've avoided the big issue, which is, sometimes picking up the phone or having a conversation with someone. There's another line, which is bad news gets worse the longer you leave it. So like if you've got an idea for something, don't try and push off the inevitable because 6 months down the line, that news will be worse than it is at the beginning. And we found this, and this is probably where my approach and our approach has come from is, when we're working for clients in the web agency, we would spend 6 months to 12 months on a project. And these are like tens of thousands of pounds projects. And, for the first couple, there's things that we could have done better. And then you start to improve it. And we start to get much more confident in our process and our credibility, I guess, in terms of knowing what we're talking about. And then over the years, we just found that actually, if we're going to spend this amount of time on something and we don't really know if it's going to work, whilst it's bringing in good money to the agency, by the time we start on the next project, we're like, okay, we know where this goes. Like us having discussions about the color of a button that no one ever uses, isn't really the best use of my life. And we've had some clients, I remember vividly, like who could have literally killed the business idea in a meeting. There's one platform we built for a gifting platform for charities. And the guy, we built the product. I mean, it was like a year's worth of work, and the guy went into the meeting, and within minutes, he'd found out that the whole business model was completely flawed, and all that work we'd done was completely wasted. We still got paid, but it didn't feel good. And also, we didn't have everyone wants to have great clients to talk about and success stories, not, we did this, and actually an interview with one customer could have solved that problem a month or 12 months before. Which would have killed our business as well, though, if we'd have done a good job.
Well, I think that's the thing, though. It's like that whole thing of this could have been an email. It's like I see so many apps or things that launch, and it's like you've just created a problem to solve. The problem is if the problem isn't there, then your solution to the non-existent problem is still useless. And so many times you would have found all that out by just having a conversation with the client and saying, hey, I'm thinking of doing this thing. Will you pay me 100 quid to give it a go? And if people won't even give you 100 quid to give it a go, then it's definitely not going to work. It's not going to be a program. It's not, it doesn't matter about scalability. It doesn't matter about the 1,000th customer. If you can't get 100 quid or even a tenner of someone to try it out, then it's definitely not going to work. And what is that? It's a phone call. It's easy to just get on the phone or have a Zoom call with someone and say, hey, do you mind if I just pitch you this idea? That only takes a couple of minutes to do, but that could save you, as Carlos said, 30K down the pan. I mean, we turn away a lot of clients in our agency because their business models are terrible. We had one guy come to us and he had 15K of investment to start up a thing. I'm not going to say because it'd be easy to work out who he is, but he started a thing. And we were like, look, to be honest, this is a Facebook group. This isn't a business.
No.
Like, we could take your 15K and we could build you a private Facebook group, or we could set you up a Mighty Networks or something. But in reality, I would just do this as a Facebook group. You can get 100 people to join it, then spend 15K developing it. Anyway, he got annoyed and went to another agency who took his 15K. They built him a thing. He came, I bumped into him about a year or so ago in town, and he's like, do you know what? I pissed that 15 grand up the wall. I should have just opened a Facebook group, like you said, and lost all of it. And he's like, I wish I'd listened to you because now I'm doing something else. I've actually got a job doing something else. It's just heartbreaking because you're like, we thought we were doing really good by not taking your money, but yeah.
No, if you want to spend it, they'll spend it somewhere.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And in some ways, I mean, you guys talk about ethics a lot. I think that's probably one of the reasons we ended up shutting the agency was our view on what people needed and what they actually thought they wanted or needed was completely different. And so we ended up talking ourselves out of loads of projects because, like, for that exact same reason, it's like, actually, you don't need for us to build you an app. You shouldn't build an app at all, and in fact, you'll waste 50 grand, and it'll be the wrong thing, which isn't great if you're trying to build an agency and you've got bills to pay and, mouths to feed. And so me and Carlos, I think, found our role more as mentors and almost connectors rather than, give us a brief, we'll build it. For that reason, A, we'd lost interest in sort of just doing that for the money, but also B, it's much more fun going, actually go to these guys or go and talk to someone else and they can hopefully give you a view on what happens if you do that, 5 years down the line and where does that end up? And that feels a lot more rewarding than just, we'll just build whatever you want, even if it's the wrong thing.
And I think that comes back to the joy, doesn't it? Because if you're running a web agency or you're, building a website or you're marketing yourself or whatever it is you do in your business, coaching or, instructing, training, whatever that might be, as long as you're doing it from a point of joy, then it becomes very difficult to try and sell unethically or to push something on someone they don't want because it just doesn't make you feel good. No. So it doesn't necessarily have to be joy all the time as the emotion that you're aiming for. I see in the chat there's been a bit of sort of talk around that, and ultimately I think joy is like, that's the bit that you get every now and then, and it's amazing, but it doesn't have to be joy continually. But if the aim is, well, do you know what, when I sell something to this person, we do business together and the relationship feels good, that makes me feel good, I'm going to have a little twinkle of joy when that email comes in saying, yeah, Simon, we'd love to work with you. Like, oh, cool. Yeah. Okay. Ding. I get a joy. It's like having a cup of coffee. It doesn't last forever, but those golden 10 minutes when you are cruising through coffee world, it's like, yeah, I'm on everything. But if that lasted forever, I mean, imagine the amount of coffee you'd have to drink for a start. But I think it's that same thing. It's just the little peaks of joy every now and then are what make it all worthwhile. And I think if you drift too far away from that purpose or from that vision, then the joy is what comes out of it. The joy is, I think, that's the hole where marketing doesn't feel good. It's like, because you're selling something that no one wants to sell. Like, you're selling something that no one really wants to buy. So it's a really awkward conversation, isn't it, really? Because it's not really, that doesn't feel very good, does it?
No. And again, I'm sure you guys talk about this, the best marketing is a great product, really. I mean, it should market itself. If it's people talk about it, they'll share that experience. And so I read something yesterday, I can't remember the line, but it was a copywriter basically saying even the best copywriter in the world couldn't sell a shit product. Ultimately, no amount of words would make something bad, good. So it's always a good reminder, I think, that actually, A, the referral thing kicks in, but also B, if we really believe in this thing, we'll talk about it in a way that is much more authentic, I think, and true.
I love the idea of with all of our guests, I'd like for them to suggest an alternative word to marketing. Because for me, I loved what Eric said earlier in the chat about I can't quite remember what it was, and now there's so much chat, which is amazing that I'm not even going to start trying to scroll back to it, but it was something about curiosity. And sort of, does curiosity, Eric, if you can cut and paste it back in, copy and paste it, that would be great. It was does curiosity allow you to see joy or something? But, you know, I don't like the idea of trying to build something before you ship it. How might your curiosity shine a spotlight on your joy? So curiosity shines a spotlight on my joy in that it's the curiosity with which I'm finding myself approaching the experience that our community members are having, that then sparks joy for me and helps us build not only we have a product in the form of a course that people are on and taking, and we're trying to build a kind of more group structured sort of immersive version of it, where people will do the course at the same time, and a lot of the group work that they will do will be the value, really one of the biggest values of it. And the feedback that we're getting from people, which firstly we can turn into beautiful testimonials, which is a gift to us that they're giving, but also a gift that we can give back to them, which is really joyous when we cheerlead that testimonial and say what you're saying is really important to us, so much so that we'd like to share it, and then the gift that we're serving to other people in sharing the testimonial. So it's all good marketing, sparks joy for me. But it's the curiosity, as I say, that I really give a shit what people actually think about what we're doing. And I don't think we could build it. I don't think we could build any more without curiosity. So, and it reminds me of kind of like going on, and you talk about being in nature, Laurence, and this idea of kind of just discovery and the curiosity with which you approach going on a walk is joy. And to speak to this point of like, I don't know what's going to bring me joy. Some stuff brings me joy. Other stuff doesn't bring me joy, but that's fine. And like on a Monday, this might bring me joy, and on a Friday, it definitely doesn't bring me joy. And it's like, well, yeah, but if you're curious as to, you know, why it might bring you joy on a certain day, or, you know, I don't know where I'm going with this. But the curiosity bit, I really like. Someone else want to jump in? I've gone off on one. Curiosity helps us hold our stories about joy. Expectation, necessity, frequency, lightly. Yeah, nice, Eric. Thank you.
I think for me, there's something about the unknown, isn't there? And so when I think of, if I'm curious about something, I want to learn something new, or there's something that's not quite fully formed yet, and so it's pulling me in. It's like, oh, what would that be like? You know, it's enticing. And so particularly if it's like a new idea or project, if it's pushing me a bit, if it's making me sort of feel a bit scared, a little bit like, oh, something there, that for me is when my curiosity's peaked. It's because it feels like it's new and different. And I think like a lot of creative entrepreneur types, I get bored quite quickly. So if it's not always good if something's curious, because it can just drag me away from what I should be doing or what's important that day. So there's always a balance. But yeah, for new things, to keep that energy up, I think always following your curiosity, I think, is something that I think, you know, something I try and, I'm sure we all do, try and instill in the younger generation really as well. That just constant curiosity about the world, not just the work we do, is important.
I've also remembered something that I think might have been a point in what I was trying to make before, which is that, you know, in working with people that we work with, in asking questions of people, you are helping them. You're being the guide and not the hero. So your curiosity both serves you in terms of keeping it alive, as you say, Laurence, but it's also the generous act of asking of someone else, what do you think? And sort of seeing what you talk about collaboration and, the whole being in a community thing is kind of how is the interaction with the other informing the joy for you? And also, what are you showing people about what working with you looks like when you are collaborative and when you are asking questions of people and when you're being curious? You're saying this is how I work. This is the energy that I am going to continually serve to you if you work with me. So there's no product there. There's nothing there other than you saying, this is who I am. If you work with me, it feels like this. Yeah, and so there doesn't need to be a product. There doesn't need to be something that, it's just a continual, like, I know that in working with you, we're not buying into something which is necessarily going to be there tomorrow. So you can be that creative entrepreneur that can need to have a new shiny thing tomorrow, and that's okay. I'm buying working with you when we are members of the Happy Startup School. So you've managed to create something which people understand clearly is what you are, which is the joy, and you're not tying yourself to any product necessarily. You and Carlos could say tomorrow, we're not doing Vision 2020 anymore, we're not doing Summer Camp anymore. The way that you have created what you've created, we'd all be like, that's okay. Like, we totally understand why you wouldn't want it, that's fine, no problem. Whereas I think with a lot of service,
just Carlos doesn't know yet, that's fine.
You know, but like a lot of people tying themselves to products are tying themselves to, like, this is my thing. And so you can't, you know, you're not like, but you're beholden to it. You're suddenly making a rod for your own back, as opposed to saying, I'm about joy. And so if you work with me, that's what it is. I don't know. I've moved into, is joy your product? And I didn't mean to, but it seems to be.
You tell me. You came up with the idea. Guaranteed joy or your money back. How about that?
I was going to say, I think that's what Carlos's episode was all about, wasn't it? Happiness is your niche. So I mean,
oh, there you go.
Yeah. So if you want to find out whether joy/happiness should be your product,
see the previous
episode. The previous episode with the other founder of the Happy Startup School, Carlos. I shall bung a link in shortly.
Well, this is the problem we have. People think they're. Go on. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I think, again, seeing some of the chat as well about happiness and passion and joy. And again, these words are all quite loaded, aren't they? And they can mean different things to different people, and they can trigger people. And I think we've all got this, well, it can easily communicate this idea that it's all about the fun, and it's always fun, and everything we do is fun. The community is amazing. Everyone's happy all the time. Everyone comes to summer camp and they're like hugging in a field, and it's just joy all around. It's just obviously not like that, is it? And I think that's one thing to communicate is, you know, a lot of this stuff's so hard and so difficult and can be sort of draining, and there's sleepless nights and there's worries at some point on our journey, or you're not getting customers and you're not getting any sort of traction and no one's following or liking your posts, and all of this stuff can be exhausting if you don't get the response you want. So for me, all of these things, whether you call it joy, happiness, following your passion, whatever people call it, is, you know, if you don't do that, then how much harder would it be? So for me, it's really just following that curiosity, following that spark, because you know, it just makes all of the more difficult things so much more bearable. And not only that, it brings you to people and surrounds you with people who sort of align with that sort of desire too. And so you get to share it and share those highs and lows together, rather than kind of go, well, I'm not feeling this, I'm not getting excitement for it, and I'm having to do invoicing and accounts and talk to some arsehole on the phone who I don't want to talk to, and it's not, I don't see the point of it, you know.
Yeah.
And also I don't like these people, so why am I doing it?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a really, really interesting, because there is that preconception that joy needs to mean happiness, or joy needs to mean, you know, running around, you know, just having fun, like being on a bouncy castle all day. But it's like, that isn't really what it's about. It's that thing of, the one thing people forget when they start their own business is that you're trading one boss for another boss. So you're getting rid of the boss you hate, and
or
you're
dozens or
becoming
hundreds.
yeah, and you're becoming the boss, right? So it's like, well, you may as well be a nice boss. And it's like, you know, I think if you don't enjoy running your own company, then that's because you've made a company that you don't enjoy running. And sometimes there are needs to do things that you don't like. Obviously, that's just part of life. You know, everyone has to do, you know, the washing up or the cleaning at some point, or whatever they don't like doing, and that's just part of life, and it's part of business too. But it doesn't mean that you can't work to design a business that is full, that brings you those moments of joy more often. And I think a lot of people especially from the sort of older school of thought in terms of business, and particularly in entrepreneur world, it's like you have to suffer in order to build a business, and you have to make other people suffer in order to build a business and make them work hours they don't want to work, and you've got to hustle and all this bullshit. And it's like, it's just nonsense. You don't have to do that to be a successful business, because when you run your business, you choose what success looks like and feels like to you. And that was one thing that really sort of, I think, stood out for me in the Vision 2020, that when we did it, was that purpose exercise we did. And it was like, oh yeah, this is what running a business is all about. It's like, does this actually serve me in any way? You know, I think it's what a lot of people forget to do when they start a business, is think about themselves. And I think this is this topic of design with joy. I think at the very heart of it for me is that if you run your business, then it has to be serving you. And if it's not, then I think it's time to take a really good, strong look in the mirror and ask yourself, who are you doing this for and why are you doing it? Because, you know, yes, there's needs and everyone has to, you know, the bills to pay, etc., etc. I'm not undermining any of that, but I'm saying that, you know, working towards a business that brings you joy, I think, is the key for anybody running their own business. And whose expectation are you trying to meet? You know, if you're trying to make £1 million of turnover next year, who's that for? Is it for your accountant because your accountant says you need to? Or is it because you want to? You know, or is it, you know, have you been told by entrepreneur land that you've got to get investment, you need VC funding and all this bullshit? It's like, you don't need it. Just go out there and get someone to buy it. And if you've got 100 people who say they're going to buy it, then go to a VC and say, I've got 100 people who are desperate to give me money for this. Will you give me some money? It's a very different conversation than I want you to pay me £1 million so I can get an office with a slide in it and a ball pit at the bottom. And then we're going to build this product and then people are going to buy it. It's like, come on. Anyway, that was my mini rant on entrepreneurs. Sorry.
I want to bring it to a close by kind of nodding to the quality of both of our communities. And there's a few people who are in both, so they're the centre of the Venn diagram. But, you know,
is there a name for the
middle bit?
Well, no, the people who are members of both. No, you need
I need to think about that. I'm sure there
happier,
is
better, bolder, joyful, braver.
Yeah, there really is a Daft Punk song somewhere.
There is,
There is.
So, but, you know, I was thinking,
bundle.
Yeah.
Watch this space.
Joyful collaboration coming soon.
Yeah, always. So Simon saved my life a couple of months ago when, with his mental health first aid training, he called out that we were not ready to launch the thing that we thought was going to make us 30 grand in Q1 of this year, because it turned out I was going to burn out. But I didn't have the ability to see that. And we saved it, well, Simon saved us probably a good couple of years of like iterating, failing, burning out, pivoting, coming back, licking our wounds, starting again. And because we're in the spirit of be honest and everything's going to be okay and you're not for us and that's all right, we were able to talk to people openly, having sold a couple of places on our course, to say, you know what, we're not going to do this. It's not going to work for us right now. It doesn't make us feel joy. Mary Kondo all over the place. And they were like, wicked, yeah, that makes perfect sense, and thanks so much for inspiring me to kind of do this thing based on your honesty. But, you know, if I didn't have Simon, if you didn't have Carlos, and vice versa, I'm not sure how much, like, joyful accountability would be going on. And, you know, so much of the value of, you know, for me, a lot of this work is about self-awareness and holding a mirror up to yourself and saying, as Simon said, you know, like, who are you doing this for, really? And, like, what does this really say about your relationship with yourself and with other people? But unless you can be super self-aware till the cows come home, but you're always going to miss a trick. So unless you've got people around you who are like, you know how you think you know yourself really well, Laurence, and you know how you think that you get what joy is, because like that's what you're all about and whatever. Actually, I've noticed this thing and I know you really well and I'm just going to call this thing out. And unless you've got people around you, I think, who... Bye, Anya. Thank you. Lovely to see you. Yeah. I think we can't underestimate how other people can be so important in helping us to remind ourselves of what we find joyful. Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent.
One final thing I was going to say
yes, go for
before
it.
we go, maybe, was just actually linked to what you're talking about, the sort of work we get people to do on the program around purpose and needs and all that stuff. I think one of the biggest shifts I've seen in people is when they realize they get to choose who they work with, and you guys might find this too. And it's that thing of, oh, I can actually choose who I get to work with. Like that simple shift of, I want to work with these people. It will give me some sort of joy. I don't know what I'm actually going to create, and that's the beauty of this, is you get to go, I want to work with these people, and maybe together we can work out what the thing is, versus here's the thing, who wants to buy it.
Yeah.
And we've seen so many people, I certainly have, mentoring startups in the past, who end up with an audience they don't really connect with because that's who they've ended up with. And so if you almost flip it and just go, okay, who would I love to spend every day working with?
100%. We get really passionate about this because people say, why would I want a niche? I don't want to cut off my nose to spite my face and limit my audience. And it's like, well, first of all, then you're going to definitely burn out because you're going to try and speak to everybody all at the same time. But more to the point, unless you are clear about who is going to serve you back the energy that's going to help you keep your business sustainable, and only speak to them or like politely decline a conversation with people that you're very clear are not going to serve you back, it doesn't make any sense. Niching is for you, and it's just for now, and you can change at any time. But it's not just so that you can be really focused on your marketing and sell more shit to people. It's about surrounding yourself with the people that are going to energize you, as you say. So anyway.
Years ago, I came across this website, and we were looking at web designers, and this guy made websites for Tory MPs. And that was it. That was his niche, like Tory MPs.
Wow.
And there was obviously like a few hundred of them. So like, and if you're a Tory MP, who are you going to go to get your website design?
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe his joy was like spending every day with Tory MPs. Probably my worst nightmare, but you know.
I was going to say, yeah. I mean, to be honest, I'm quite happy he's out there doing it, so no one else has to. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, someone's got to be the martyr.
But think of the gossip, though, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, someone's got to be the martyr, but I mean,
there is no judgment on this show. Just saying.
No politics allowed.
Exactly. So before we rapidly move on to the second hour of
Carlos is reading off like domains and random clients for the years. Sorry, just like distracting me.
Yeah. Maybe we should do a like a bitching podcast where we just bitch anonymously about fantastic projects that we've worked on and just yeah. Anyway, it's a whole different podcast. If you want to see it, send some love in the chat and maybe we'll get together and do that. If you want to connect with the wonderful writing and words of Laurence, then I've taken the liberty of sharing the LinkedIn and the Medium links in the chat. Laurence was one of those people who got in to Medium and started writing on it like ages ago, and has an absolutely incredible following. So
before the war,
do become part of that.
Writing on Medium.
I mean, it was.
Oh, sorry, I meant like World War II, not. Like
yeah. It's really So do check Laurence out in those places. Is there anything else is there anywhere else people can connect with you or learn more about what you're up to, Laurence?
LinkedIn's good. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Yeah, I don't write on Medium as much as I used to. So yeah, LinkedIn, connect with me, or thehappystartupschool.com if anyone wants to check out what we do. But yeah, most people here are people we know, but there might be others out there who listen to this afterwards who aren't.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Laurence. It feels like we could definitely have carried on for much, much more different rabbit hole conversation. I'm sure we'll be back at another time to have another conversation. Thanks, everybody, for listening and watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for the great chat as well. Awesome.